Raksasa otomotif asal Jerman BMW baru saja mengumumkan varian baru dari SUV hybrid, yakni BMW XM Label Red, varian tertinggi kelas XM. BMW XM Label Red yang akan diproduksi hanya 500 unit dengan desain yang sama dengan XM yang diperkenalkan beberapa bulan lalu. Bedanya, selain mesin, pada bagian luar, mobil ini memiliki lapisan cat eksterior metalik individual frozen carbon black dengan trim merah pada bagian grill, pelek, window line, dan bumper belakang. Tentu membuat tampilannya semakin gahar dan terlihat eksklusif di jalan raya. Dari rilis BMW Group pada 12 April, BMW XM Label Red disebut BMW M paling bertenaga yang pernah ada. Dibekali mesin V8 dan EV twin turbo 4,4 liter yang mampu menyemburkan tenaga 748 horsepower. Tenaga ini dihasilkan dari kombinasi mesin pembakaran V8 585 horsepower dan motor listrik terintegrasi ke dalam transmisi M Steptronic 8 kecepatan yang menghasilkan tenaga 197 horsepower dan torsi 1000 Nm. Berbekal mesin tersebut, mobil ini mampu melesat dari jarak 0 hingga 96 km dalam waktu 3,7 detik dan kecepatan tertinggi mencapai 281 km per jam. Sistem M Hybrid dari BMW XM Label Red memadukan keunggulan elektrifikasi yang berfokus pada masa depan dengan mesin pembakaran 8 silinder putaran tinggi dengan teknologi M Twin Power Turbo. Generasi terbaru mesin V8 diklaim mampu menyalurkan pengiriman daya lebih cepat, lebih efisien, dan rendah emisi. Hal ini sejalan dengan komitmen Indonesia untuk menurunkan emisi menjadi nol pada tahun 2060 atau lebih awal. Realisasi janji ini penting untuk memitigasi krisis iklim mengingat Indonesia termasuk penghasil emisi terbesar di dunia. Salah satu jawabannya adalah dengan melakukan transisi dari penggunaan mobil konvensional ke mobil listrik. Ruang itulah yang dimanfaatkan Indonesia sebagai peluang untuk melakukan lompatan menjadi negara maju dan tidak terjebak pada negara berpendapatan menengah atau middle income trap. Sejalan dengan itu, pemerintah Indonesia pun merancang strategi besar. Salah satunya adalah menciptakan ekosistem mobil listrik dan baterai kendaraan listrik atau EV. Hal itu tertuang dalam Peraturan Presiden nomor 55 tahun 2019 tentang percepatan program kendaraan bermotor listrik berbasis baterai untuk transportasi jalan. Indonesia memiliki potensi yang sangat besar untuk membangun ekosistem kendaraan listrik, terutama produksi baterai untuk kendaraan listrik. Indonesia memiliki cadangan nikel nomor 1 di dunia dengan kisaran stok mencapai 21 miliar ton. Jumlah tersebut kurang lebih 30% dari cadangan dunia. Kemudian sumber daya lain seperti timah Indonesia yang merupakan nomor 2 di dunia, bauksit di nomor 6 dunia, dan tembaga di nomor 7 dunia. Dengan sebagian besar sumber daya itu, Indonesia memiliki potensi yang sangat besar untuk menjadi produsen baterai EV dan lithium baterai untuk kendaraan listrik melalui program hilirisasi. Jika ekosistem besar kendaraan listrik sudah terbentuk, peluang negara-negara maju produsen otomotif untuk berinvestasi di Indonesia yang saat ini tengah membangun ekosistem baterai kendaraan listriknya semakin terbuka luas.
Indonesia sudah bertekad untuk mengurangi emisi karbonnya hingga zero emisi pada tahun 2060. Tentu saja upaya ini memerlukan upaya dari seluruh sektor untuk mendukungnya, termasuk sektor otomotif. Nah, para produsen otomotif tentu saja diajak untuk menggunakan seluruh cara ya untuk mengurangi emisi, termasuk tentu saja dengan memproduksi kendaraan berbasis listrik atau mobil elektrik. Nah, Final Notes kali ini akan berjumpa dengan seseorang yang memimpin perusahaannya untuk menjadi pemimpin dalam mengurangi emisi dan menciptakan kendaraan elektrik. Dia adalah Senior Vice President dari BMW, dari Regions Asia Pacific, dari Middle East juga Eastern Europe, dan Afrika. Sudah hadir bersama saya Jean-Philippe Parain. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ça va? Comment allez-vous?
Très bien, merci.
Bienvenue en Indonésie.
Merci beaucoup.
Welcome to Indonesia. Jean-Philippe, we are at the moment in Jakarta.
Yes.
And next to us, we cannot not talk about it. There is a very big car. It's a beautiful car.
Absolutely.
And it's the latest BMW
Yes.
XM Label Red. Just tell me, what is
XM
this car doing here and what is this car all about?
So we have tonight an event for our loyal customers, and we make a premiere of this car that is produced only with 500 exemplaries worldwide.
500?
500
Worldwide?
Worldwide, and 6 will be kept for Indonesia because there's a passion of the Indonesian customers for BMW M. And since the BMW M1, that's the BMW XM is the only car that has been only designed and produced as a BMW M high-performance car. And this is also the first BMW M car that is also electrified. So it's a plug-in hybrid car that's 750 horsepower, and it can drive roughly between 80 and 100 kilometers electric, purely electric.
But why only 500? I'm sure a lot of people look at it and said, I really want one of those cars.
So you can buy an XM, but the XM Label Red, that's a very limited edition. And that's, you see here with this red accent, this frozen black color, very specific for this edition. And it enjoys a lot of success all across my region.
Okay, and of course, it's the latest technology.
Of course.
Obviously. And what you're trying to do, what you're trying to gain, and what kind of innovation are you trying to introduce to the brand by having something like this, which is, I mean, worldwide only 500. I can only imagine the price. Can I ask
so
the
500
price?
of this version, but we produce the XM to a larger extent, to a larger number also.
Okay.
Yeah, but this special edition is only 500 limited. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Jean-Philippe, you are the senior vice president for sales in a very, very big part of the world.
Yes.
Asia Pacific, of course, including Indonesia, the Middle East, Africa, and also Eastern Europe. Now, where do you see Indonesia amongst all these very, very big and with a lot of population in the region?
Well, first at BMW there was so far a strong focus, on the 3 main regions, which is Europe, Americas, and China. Yeah? And I'm covering the rest of this region, and I gave it a name at BMW. It's called the fourth pillar. You know that the BMW headquarters is a 4-cylinder building like our engines, and I'm really pushing for promoting this fourth pillar because I believe it's a real growth region. And in this growth region, there are markets indeed that are really developing very fast. And Indonesia is the last 2 years especially showing a very, very strong development. We could grow our sales 25% in 2022 versus 2021. And this year we will grow our sales roughly 39%, 40% in 23 versus 2022. So that's one of the fastest, if not the fastest, growing market for BMW.
Okay, and are we the fastest here in Indonesia, say, compared to the region of the ASEAN countries?
To the world. To the world. One of the fastest, together with Turkey. But in Turkey there are some specific elements that explain that, high inflation, devaluation of the currency, so people I would say invest into tangible assets. But Indonesia is in the top 3 of the fastest growing markets worldwide.
Have you done an analysis of why are we the fastest in the region?
I think there are different elements, of course. It's probably a conjunction of all these elements, but there's a large population. There are strong investments of the government into infrastructure. Roads are being built. There's a strong push also towards electromobility. Indonesia has the largest reserve of nickel and is pushing for integration of this production here in the country. there's an appetite for luxury, and it's true in the luxury segment, but we see also a rising middle class. And you can see it also. For me, it was a surprise. I'm for the second time here in Jakarta this year, and I'm really surprised by the way the city has developed, the plans, the real estate investments, and also the plans in terms of transportation. So not only roads, but really overall transportation. And if you open the country, if you open the infrastructure into a country, then you develop trade and you develop growth and economy on the long term. We have strong brands. BMW, Mini are very strong brands. We have a very strong product portfolio. We assemble our products locally. So we have a production partner, and a very large number of models are produced locally, which allows us to enjoy lower taxes and reach a wider customer group.
Overall, globally, especially since your footprint is all over the place, how has the automotive industry performed? Especially, we had COVID for
Yes.
Almost 3 years. Obviously, not many people kind of very mobile. Plus, we have all the other economic challenges such
Yes.
as a recession, and also there's war in Ukraine and Russia, and there's all sort of these what we call as headwinds.
Of course. Well, despite all these disruptions, despite all these headwinds, as you call them, we see a relatively strong growth of the total market, of the premium segment even more, what we call the premium segment. And BMW, for example, will grow more than 6% this year, more in the direction of 7%.
So totally globally.
Globally, that means that we will break our sales record that was achieved in 2019. So it means we will pass the level of our sales that we had pre-COVID. So the recovery was quite quick, and now we will exceed that level. Even if some markets, as you mentioned, are in my region, the Russian market, for example, is in my region. We don't sell cars anymore in Russia.
Do you still sell cars, say, for example, in Germany, where BMW was born? Is it still,
Yeah, sure.
a constant
The biggest
growth?
market is China. Yeah. Then after you have the US, then the German market, and then the UK, and then comes a market in my region, Korea, for example. South Korea has grown very, very quickly. To roughly 80,000 cars, which is huge for this country in a very short period of time.
Now, the premium market, as you call it, this is can it compete with the normal market? I mean, where do you get your sort of competitive advantage? Because particularly, for example, Indonesia, there's a lot of Japanese cars, there's a lot of Korean and even Chinese cars now, and there's lots of other European brands as well. So where do you see sort of your competitive advantage?
Well, first of all, of course, we have a small share of the total market, but we are growing strongly. We have a strong brand. I think that's one of the main assets of our group. We have strong brands. BMW, Mini are very strong brands. We have a very strong product portfolio. We assemble our products locally. So we have a production partner, and a very large number of models are produced locally, which allows us to enjoy lower taxes and reach a wider customer group. And we import also what we call CBU, so
completely built up, yes, 100%.
Units out of Germany or other countries for specific models. For example, our electric vehicles are at the moment imported and not locally assembled here, but probably in the future we will also start to assemble electric cars in Indonesia. It's not concretely planned yet, but I guess that's the way our product portfolio is set. So we go from the very top with, for example, the 7 Series, which is extremely successful in Indonesia, a segment leader in the luxury limousine segment, where we offer also a fully electrified and fully electric version of the 7 Series, the i7, which is really breaking records here in Indonesia. And we go down, if I may say so, to the X1. We have started to assemble the X1 here in Indonesia, and it enjoys a great success. And we will introduce the electric version of this X1, the iX1, early next year. So I think that's the fact that we cover a large part of the market, also with the mini brand, a large price band. We stay in the premium segment, but we see a strong demand, a strong growth, and we try to cater for that demand. So that means we also invest a lot into infrastructure. For example, all our network is equipped with charging infrastructure to really develop electric vehicles. We develop our retail network, train them, make them professional. We are transforming our dealerships at the moment so that they really look inviting, modern. It's a concept called Retail Next. And I opened today 2 first Retail Next outlets in Indonesia, in Jakarta. So I think there's really a dynamic. Retail partners are investing a lot of money, and that's a virtuous circle, I would say.
Okay, so by the end of 2023, say, how many % increase are you expecting? And how
40%.
40%, and how many does that translate into the number of cars?
So we will reach roughly 4,300, 4,400 BMWs. And a bit more than 1,000 minis.
Okay, so this is above your original target then.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And how many?
16% are electric vehicles.
No, this is what 16% of it is electric vehicles.
Yes. Worldwide, the good news is that in terms of electrification, Indonesia is ahead of our worldwide average.
Really?
15% is our target on the group level for 2023. And in Indonesia, we are achieving 16. So we have as an ambition to go to 20 in 2024 on a worldwide level, and 25 in 2025. Easy to remember.
Now, in my introduction, I said that, Indonesia, we have a commitment to reduce the zero emission for 2060. Maybe the rest of the world is 2050. And one of the key ways of doing it is electrification. Having electric cars is a very important aspect of it.
Absolutely.
Now, say, in the years ahead, obviously, how important is it for a company like BMW to make sure that you help Indonesia achieve this target, and what is your roadmap for doing it?
So worldwide, the good news is that in terms of electrification, Indonesia is ahead of our worldwide average.
Really?
15% is our target on the group level for 2023, and in Indonesia we are achieving 16. So we have as an ambition to go to 20 in 2024 on a worldwide level, and 25 in 2025. Easy to remember. So we have for that again a large product portfolio for the BMW M, from the iX1 to the i4, i7 here in Indonesia, but we will bring the i5 also next year. We will bring the iX2 next year. So the portfolio will widen, and also our mini brand will be fully electrified next year with new models, all electric. So I think we will have really a broad offer. At the moment, imported, and we are looking at strategies in the future how we can locally assemble electric cars to again bring down the price point for
Yes,
the Indonesian
obviously.
customer.
At the moment, the price is very much the challenge. You know,
Yes.
if you can actually reduce the price, then you can actually
Yeah.
also increase people's
Yeah.
desire
Yes.
to buy it. But in terms of the ecosystem, obviously, it's not just about having a car that is hybrid or electric, but creating the ecosystem that supports the industry and that supports, whether it's the after sale, the maintenance, and so on and so forth. How are you doing that, particularly with a market that will hopefully increase
Yeah.
in terms of your sales?
I delivered an iX to a customer today who is also working in the media, and he was telling me that along the big I would say highways in Indonesia around Jakarta, going out of Jakarta, there are more and more charging stations. We see with our partners, again our retail partners, but I also spoke to some real estate development companies. They are installing more and more charging points. You can charge at home in many cases in Indonesia, or at least in Jakarta. So I think at least the ecosystem in Jakarta seems to develop in the right direction. And we are looking at cooperations because we have also a strategy to develop our own charging points. I was in Malaysia just before coming to Indonesia. We had a groundbreaking ceremony to open really a large charging points facility, and I can imagine that we could do that as well in Indonesia. We see also a responsibility with us doing that.
So you see that the government is quite committed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you're happy with it? I mean, are there inputs that you'd like to give? What would you like to see more of, and how fast? Especially since you want to target 25% by the year 2025.
Well, we see, as I said, already 16 this year. I believe our talks with our partners shows that there's potential for much more next year. It's all about indeed price point, availability also, because there's a very strong demand for some of our electric vehicles, and we have to bring them in time and have a sufficient supply for Indonesia. That has not always been the case, but we are working on that to improve also the supply. And then there's no reason why we should not achieve it. Yeah.
But in terms of the car which is fueled by obviously fossil fuel, and then a car which is electric, just tell me about what goes into in terms of innovation and the need for it, and what actually creates the price range or the price difference that still makes the electric car somewhat prohibitively expensive.
The big difference, if you are, let's say, on a level playing field, you will not see any price difference anymore.
Ideally, yeah.
No, not ideally. If you are in Europe, for example, the price of our electric vehicles is more or less at the level of the price of our combustion engine vehicles. What makes it a year difference is that we don't yet assemble electric, this one is not a fully electric vehicle, but we don't yet assemble fully electric vehicles. And that means that the tax regime is more favorable for our combustion engine cars that are here assembled and produced versus an electric car that is imported. Yeah? So when we will be able to, and that's a challenge on the low number of cars, to locally produced electric vehicles, that's a challenge. That's a cost challenge as well for us, and a complexity challenge. But when we will be able to master that, then the price will be more or less the same.
Mm-hmm. So ideally, there should be a tax incentive for cars that are electric to begin with, right? Isn't there?
There is already one. There is already one. If you import a car that is electric and import a car that is not electric, you have an incentive. So I must say the government has done a great job doing that. But there is still an even higher incentive, and I can understand that, for a car that is locally assembled in Indonesia. And I can understand because that triggers employment, supply chain of suppliers in Indonesia, so I completely understand.
So in that case, do you have some kind of roadmap to increase your local content?
Yes,
for your,
we have a roadmap
what does
for
that
that.
look like?
And we are really looking. I mean, I don't want to be too technical, but we are really looking at ways, as I said, to in the near future assemble electric vehicles here in Indonesia. We are looking at feasibility studies. How much would it cost? How can we? Do we have to do it in every country? That's a little bit the challenge in the region because Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia
there are competitors as well.
Competitors as well, I can understand. But on a small scale, it's a challenge to bring that complexity in all our factories, I would say.
But how are we doing compared to, I know that sales is high here, but in terms of the regulations, in terms of the tax incentive, and also just making sort of doing business easier and selling electric cars easier, how do we compare with our competitors, our neighbors, basically?
I mean, it's. I think you are fully embracing this transformation as a country. I think there is a clear roadmap, and I think the tax system reflects it absolutely very good. And we see the same kind of movements in the other countries as well. For sure, Thailand is pushing that as well very much. Malaysia also. So I think there's not a huge difference, but all the governments have understood that this transformation is going on and are pushing in the right direction. We really want to communicate is that for us, our cars are BMW first and electric second, so that they remain real BMWs. We say our electric cars must have a soul.
But in terms of the consumer demands for this type of vehicles, do you see it in your consumers? Do you see it in your buyers? Are they saying, well, I love BMW, but I would even love it if I can have, an electric BMW car?
Well, I think we see a growing demand. Our growth rate is 40% overall, but our growth rate for electric vehicles is much higher. So I think that it's also to us to be able to supply the market in the right way. We were maybe a bit late in reading the demand in the market, so we could bring only quite late some of the cars that the customers wanted. And now, for example, with the iX1, we will try to bring these cars quicker and estimate the demand in a better way.
So you're trying to catch up because, some of
Well, yeah, just to allocate, we have a limited production still, and so we have to find the best allocation and fight for the allocation to the Indonesian market. Yeah.
Okay, but let me go back to the local content again. Do you have a set date in your mind of by this year we really should have an X percentage of local content that is part of our...
What is important for us is that we make it possible with our production partner to produce, again, electric vehicles here in Indonesia in the near future. I can't tell you exactly a date because that's really a complex operation. Also transport of batteries and everything is a complex operation, and we are starting experimentation with that, but I believe in the next 5 years we should make real progress in this direction.
In terms of innovation, because when we move from fuel-based engines to electric, do you have like a different set of visionaries who make these new vehicles? Because they completely
what we really want to communicate is that for us, our cars are BMW first and electric second, so that they remain real BMWs. We say our electric cars must have a soul. Yeah, because otherwise...
What is that soul?
Yeah, because BMW is very much associated with driving pleasure, with sheer driving pleasure.
What's that in German?
Sheer driving pleasure, Freude am Fahren. Yeah, le plaisir de conduire.
Le plaisir de conduire, exactly.
Yeah, and so we translate that in all languages, and that's really a trademark of BMW.
Kenikmatan berkendara or something like that. You know.
You
that
you
is
know
still
better.
that is still the soul
That's
until
still,
now.
and we want also with an electric car, even if it doesn't have a six-cylinder engine in it or a V8 engine in it, that the soul remains and that the sheer driving pleasure remains and that the pure, typical BMW behavior remains. And we want to differentiate ourselves by providing that feeling. And so that's something where we want to really clearly stand out with our BMW brand versus other brands who are also doing electric vehicles.
But then what about your focus on, because innovation is a big part of producing, it has to be, digital, electric, and I don't know, now you have flying
And circular.
cars, self-driving cars, or what
So-
have
so
you.
our-
That, what's the innovation been like?
So first of all, we really believe that electrification will be adopted in the world at different pace. Yeah? They are still part of the world. If you go to the Middle East, there's hardly any demand for electric vehicles. If you go in South Africa, which is also in my region, there is hardly, there are...
Really? Why is it? Is it because it's
Because
so
South Africa is
addicted to
no
fossil
suffering
fuel,
from load shedding and
I see.
at the moment. So
it's just the market.
it's just the
It's not
market
that.
specifics, and we have to follow. You can't dictate to the customers what they need. Yeah, so there's a different pace of adoption, and that's why it's very important, and that's the strategy of the group, to be technology open, meaning that we have to follow what the customers want and not dictate what they should buy. Yeah? And that's why we are really reading the market here, and if there's more demand for electric cars, we see more demand, we will increase stronger our volume of electric cars, but there is still a demand for cheaper or more affordable, I would say, locally assembled cars, and we are doing that as well. So that's one aspect. Technology openness, we don't go only on one technology. We try to produce the best electric vehicles on the planet, and I think we do. But we also believe there is a market still for combustion engines. There are some, Japan, for example, is a market where the take of electric vehicles is relatively low.
Very slow.
Very slow, also low infrastructure. And I'm not sure that the government fully believes that this is the next step. They might think, okay, let's go first to hybrid and then to hydrogen. That's a little bit how I read the strategy of the Japanese government. So we have to be really ready with all the possible technologies to be a worldwide player. We have taken very clear commitments to reduce emissions by 50% until 2030, and we look really at our full supply chain. So it's not only ours, it's also the one of our suppliers, our logistic chain. I think we are probably the most sustainable manufacturer today in the world, and really looking at things in the entire supply chain.
Yeah, but it's inevitable, isn't it, Jean-Philippe? I mean, everybody is now talking about lowering emission. Everybody has their NDI, the nationally determined, how many percentage of carbon emission or greenhouse gases. I mean, at some point, even countries that are so addicted to fossil fuel, we have to basically, cut it out. But you mentioned that it's all about consumer demand. So is this something that the consumer demands? I mean,
Yes,
what
yes.
does it mean? What's the consumer demanding now in terms of vehicles and cars?
For sure, to have the possibility to drive an electric car, but there are also consumers.
I mean, this kind of.
You mean
because
this one? Okay, this one is it's.
I'm just curious because.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you have some customers who really want to show their lifestyle, to have a very extroverted car, and want to have a powerful car, but also the ability to drive electric in the city.
So this is an SUV, what would you call it?
This is an SUV, but again, it drives electric. It's also a very powerful car, so it has a long range, so there's no limitation in that sense. And that's for someone who wants to have, an extroverted lifestyle, who want to demonstrate its success, its wealth. And there are some brands, and we didn't have such a product in our brand. And I guess that this is the answer for these customers who really have absolutely no problem to say, here I am, that's what I'm doing.
And you're quite optimistic. You have 6 in Indonesia.
Yeah.
You said you're quite optimistic. Are there already buyers for this car?
I think they are already, I mean, we are doing the premiere tonight, so I guess we will have buyers, but you can find it in the media. And there's already a lot of interest.
And they'll sell like hotcakes. I mean,
I think it will be the case.
So I guess there's a lot of rich people out there who can afford to buy this kind of.
In Indonesia, a lot of rich people. Yeah, there are also a lot of people having a second home in Indonesia, and who are living also in the US or in Singapore. I mean, and they have cars in different parts of the world where they are traveling, working, living.
Okay. Yeah. Let me go back to the increase of the sales in Indonesia. Very optimistic, and you're happy with the performance here. But what does that mean in terms of business presence? Are you expanding? Like you have more, showrooms. You have more
absolutely.
Sellers. You have more.
Two things. First. With our production partner, we are opening a second line of production in Q1 next year. So that means that we enable our growth from a production capacity point of view, because at the moment we need to expand. We see really the growth not as a short-term factor, but as a structural factor here in the country. Second, we have today 18 sales points, and we want to. We have made a study. We believe that the growth, that we will more than double our volume in the next 5 to 8 years. Yeah, and so therefore we need also a better coverage of the country, more dealerships.
So you'll be creating more jobs.
Of course, yes. And we are concretely speaking with our partners about how will we do that, where, with who, and we had yesterday a meeting with all of them and showing this strategy, and I think they all adhere to that, and they are really confident in the development of the country. So I think yes, there will be more investments, more presence, and more jobs created by the automotive industry and by BMW.
And more of your contribution to the local economy.
Of course.
Just very quickly on the ESG, the sustainability.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just about electric cars and batteries,
but
the whole entire business model now, are you complying with
Absolutely.
ESG?
We are, we have won the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, I think, more than 10 times in a row. I think we are at 11 or 12. I'm sorry if I don't know exactly the number. We are really looking at the full supply chain. We have taken very clear commitments to reduce emissions by 50% until 2030. And we look really at our full supply chain. So it's not only ours, it's also the one of our suppliers, our logistic chain. I think we are probably the most sustainable manufacturer today in the world, and really looking at things in the entire supply chain, which is not always the case.
And you're bringing that high German standard.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Jean-Philippe, thank you so much for your time. Just very quickly, is there anything else you'd like, to add while you're here? We don't see you very often. Maybe some new excitement that you're bringing to this country. I mean, I know this will cause a lot of stir and excitement, but.
Well, I'm just really impressed by the development of this country. I'm also really impressed by the confidence there is in the decisions that have been made the last years, and that are bringing the country to a higher level in the region. And I'm just very happy to see so much enthusiasm and commitment again from my team, from our retail partners, and I'm really thankful that the Indonesian customers made BMW this year the #1 brand in the premium segment. And that's a great honor, and we will really make everything to deserve that recognition also in the coming future.
Okay, if there's one message you'd like to say to Indonesia, Jean-Philippe.
Well, I'm really delighted by the way our business develops here, and we are really here to stay. We are really investing as a BMW Group. You understood, in our production network, in our dealer network, our retail partners, and really BMW Group is here to stay as a fully fledged national sales company. That's really important, and we really believe in the future of this country.
Okay, that's good to hear. Jean-Philippe, thank you very much for your time, for your insight, and I hope you enjoy your stay in Indonesia. Wish you all the success.
Thank you, Desi.
In the world. Ya, demikian Final Notes kali ini bersama saya Desi Anwar. Jangan lupa Anda juga dapat menyaksikan acara ini di cnnindonesia.com dan juga di Final Notes di YouTube CNN Indonesia. Terima kasih, sampai jumpa. Stay safe dan bye-bye.
Thank you.